Welcome. Welcome, everybody. Can you all hear me? Great. Thank you for coming here this afternoon. We are hoping that this will take about 45 minutes, but that's really a tall order when we're talking about Hepper Caldwell. My name is Maria Ogden, and I am one of the nurses in the health office. I've worked at Putney since 2001. But what really gives me the license to be here is that 25 years ago, my husband, my children, and I moved up the road from the Caldwells. And I fell in love with both of them. One took a little longer to fall in love with than the other, with all due respect. But on a more serious note, before we begin, I ask that we acknowledge that we are on the unceded territory of the Abenaki people who populated Vermont, New England, and Quebec. We honor them as the traditional land caretakers of Endakina, the land of the dawn, the land we're standing on. As an educational institution, we pay our respects to the Abenaki of the past, those who live among us, and future generations. We also acknowledge that so many of us have benefited from the devastating legacy of slavery and present-day exploitation of migrant farm workers. We as a community must never stop trying to right those wrongs. Thank you again for being here. And let me introduce the incomparable Emily Jones.
Thank you, Maria. Look at all these people. I hadn't turned around to see this has turned into a really big event. Thank you for coming over. Maria acknowledged the original owners of the land. I wanted to acknowledge that we as the Putney School didn't own the piece of land that we're about to build on until relatively recently. And I don't think most of the students and faculty of the school even knew that, because we've been using the land for years and years. But it turned out, somewhat to my surprise, that it didn't belong to the school. And given what's happening with building and real estate, et cetera, in Vermont, it was kind of terrifying to discover that if this piece of land got sold, somebody could just put up a bunch of McMansions right across the street from the Putney School, which would have changed the feeling of the school and the campus significantly. And also, so many people in the greater Putney community use the ski trails and use the riding trails and walking trails. And so I wanted to also acknowledge my old friend Lavinia Courier, who was going to be here today but is not able to come. Because when it looked like the person that owned the land, who was not local, might be ready to sell it, I just called her up and said, we really need to do this. and so she did. And it's made an enormous difference. And it's allowed us to imagine expanding the campus and the dorm, which is going to have this view that you can see out there, those very, very lucky children. So I just wanted to say thank you to Vinnie, even if she's not here at the moment. I also want to say thank you to Sarah Gund, who is sitting right here, for the inspiration for calling this dorm Hepper House after Hepper Caldwell. And there's a handing down of love in the community that is really powerful and meaningful. The students that were mentored, and you'll hear more about Hepper from a variety of people, but I just wanted to say thank you to Sarah for having that brilliant idea.
Okay. Well, this is a thrilling moment. And I'm thrilled to be standing on this site of what will be Hepper House. And I only wish that my husband, Jeff, could be here too with me, as he has been a significant contributor to this project, and the whole idea of having a dorm named after Hepper was as much mine as it was his. His respect, his admiration, his friendship with Hepper grew over 19 years that he knew her. They both were history teachers, and they appreciated both the art of teaching and they appreciated the subject that they shared so deeply. Jeff would be here if it weren't for Groton School holding its alumni reunion this very same weekend. But I think he's coming tomorrow. I hope he's coming tomorrow. The Caldwells were my first dorm heads when I arrived at Putney as a rather scared freshman and found my bunk in Newbrook Girls' Dorm. She was then, as she remained throughout all the years that I knew her, a quiet but powerful presence. I can't remember any time that I heard Hepper raise her voice, even when she was assembling small, very small children. She always had a welcoming hand and a word, and then there was that laugh. I spent one summer in Colorado with Johnny and Hepper, helping to take care of their children while they ran the Colorado Rocky Mountain School summer school. My memories are full of Hepper's patience, both with me, her kindness, her understanding, and that warm smile. It was a wonderful experience and undoubtedly contributed to my understanding of children and how to care for them. There were times after Putney when I would show up at the Caldwells and she would ask me about one thing or another. It was always the right question to ask, and when she gave an answer, it was the right answer. She seemed to always have my best interests at heart, and her responses reflected that. It didn't require a long-winded explanation to communicate what she was thinking. She just said what she thought, and it was helpful, and as the kids would say, spot on. People like Hepper don't demand a lot of attention, and they walk in the background, providing the stability that everybody else needs to keep going. This dorm will house faculty members who will provide that for kids that come and go. Jeff's and my wish is that they will be as kind and as wise as Hepper was to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Emily. And now, the Caldwell boys. It's like the Stockwell boys, but different.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I'm Tim. And, think about Mom it's been a little tough, so I'll do my best. Imagine a 10-year-old child, the youngest of 4, living in southwestern Connecticut. Her parents are being divorced, and it's 1938. Her siblings are off at Groton or university somewhere, being well taken care of. Where better than to send this child to a 3-year-old, progressive, co-educational boarding school on the top of a windy hill in one of the most rural and conservative states in the country. This is the beginning of the story of Hester Vanneman Goodenough here at Putney, here at this place. With World War II on the near horizon and her home life turned upside down, our mom, Hepper to most of you, came to this place. It's where she started 5th grade in an old chicken coop over by the main building. After school, she'd hike down the road here over to what used to be called Allen House, quite a ways away from the main campus, 10 years old. She flourished here. In September 1938, this place took her in. This place and the people, who included her future parents-in-law, embraced her and made her safe. This place taught her how to play. This place taught her how to love and to be loved. This place taught her how to learn. This place taught her how to live. Our mother loved this place. It became the home she had left, and she never looked back. After a brief stint away to attend college and to marry her longtime friend and classmate, she came back to teach, to raise a family, and to listen, and to counsel and support many, many young people over the many years until her retirement nearly 40 years later. Perhaps more than any other contributions to this place, more than her teaching, more than her coaching, was her gift to help make this place safe for other people, many of whom followed a similar path to this really, really special place. So thank you.
So my name's Peter, and we're going chronologically by appearance rather than age, because actually I'm number 3, not number 2. So I think if Mom were still alive today, she would protest vehemently that she was getting so much attention and that something was being named in her honor. But secretly, I think she would be very pleased. So I wanted to talk just briefly about Mom's love of teaching and what I would venture to guess were her favorite years as an educator here at the Putney School. So in terms of her love of teaching, 2 things come to mind. She loved students, as you've heard from Sarah and Brother Tim. And I will never forget one time she came home from a day in the classroom, and it was those formative years, I think, when you're young enough to believe that your parents know everything pretty much. And she said, "I just love teaching because these kids are so much smarter than I am." And she really meant that, and she really cherished having students in her class that came up with new ideas of things that she was teaching. And as Sarah said, she loved history, and she was always engaged in studying history, and she was prescient in some ways and accurately, and not so much in others. For instance, she predicted the downfall of the Soviet Union, thinking that there were simply too many nationalities to be governed under one large USSR. And she wrote her thesis for her master's on that topic. On the other hand, she also predicted when we were young that college, by the time we enrolled, would be free. Because how could tuitions possibly continue to increase from $3,500 a year? So as we know, she was not right about that one. What I'm thinking might have been the glory years for her as an educator. I know that she really enjoyed her 40s, and she was full of life during her 40s. And that coincided with the 5 years that we all attended Putney School. And so Tim, Sverre, and I came along, and then our younger sister, who passed away 11 years ago, was 2 years younger than I, but she was a smart one in the family, so she skipped a grade. So there was a year when all 4 children, plus my parents, would come over to the Putney School. And I feel very sorry for anybody who attended during those 5 years, because there were so many of us, it must have been pretty dreadful. You couldn't walk around a corner without bumping into one of us. But I see some teammates, and so we did play some sports and do some things, and it was terrific. And we all loved it. What's that? We were here, let's see, Tim was 68 to 72, and my sister was 71 to 75, so 68 to 75. Is that right? Something like that. So my guess is that those were her favorite years. My wife and I have 3 kids of our own. We are educators, and our 3 kids went to the school where we taught. And when you have that magic combination of having kids in a school that suits them, that is right for them, where they fully engage, and it's the school that you love, that is magic, because you get to know their friends, you get to see everything. You get to see the school through a different set of eyes, really. So my guess is that Mom, during those years, was really flourishing and loved it. We certainly loved it. I had her as a teacher, I admit, and loved that experience. So we're just very happy for my mom for this, and hope that her legacy carries on in this building. And now I would like to introduce the middle brother, Sverre.
So, yeah, I'm the middle brother, even though I look the youngest. I was smart and I retired first. It's probably pretty obvious the 3 brothers didn't rehearse this. These 2 turkeys took everything I wanted to say. And this morning I was told to wrap it up. Heck, we couldn't even agree on what to wear. Hepper was a true Putneyite. As Tim said, she pretty much grew up here and was deeply influenced by those early years. As Peter mentioned, she taught here for decades. She loved the students, and she loved teaching. She loved the very idea of Putney. I'd like to start with a thank you from our entire family. Thank you all for coming. This is kind of blowing me away. Luckily, you can't see my knees banging against the podium here. Thank you, Putney School, for honoring our mother this way. The naming the new dorm is truly a fine tribute. While we are clearly honored, I know Hep is tickled pink. There are those who say that when a person passes away, it's only their body that stops working, and their spirit remains alive forever, free from all aches and pains they may have experienced on earth. This is not a universally held opinion, but it probably should be. Let's all give it a try. Please look skyward. Now close your eyes and imagine Hep. This is good. I see lots of smiles. Keep your eyes closed. She's probably doing her favorite thing, teaching, expounding on the virtues of democracy and berailing against greed and tyranny. Clearly, she would not have been a big Trump fan. Keep your eyes closed. Now recall your favorite Hep memory. Imagine the smile that you experienced every time you saw her. Imagine the sparkle in her eyes. Remember how her whole face lit up. I'm sure that is the feeling that her spirit has now, knowing that she has a spot to call home in the place she loved the most. I'm also sure she will do her best to help many more generations of Putney students find their own safe place away from home here at Putney. I hope we can all remember and celebrate that spirit forever. Thank you.
So this is actually not one of Johnny and Hepper's sons. I just want to point that out. But he has promised he just needs to speak briefly. 15 seconds, I think, Uncle Pete?
I have a vivid memory of Hester. We used to carry on and go out at night for fun, playing pranks on all the neighbors around town that we could approach. And on one particular night, Hester happened to be tagging along with us, but she got fed up pretty quickly. And as we all floated, to create some mischief somewhere or other, she drove off in the car, leaving us to walk home in the dark of the night, 2 miles.
Thank you. That was worth it. Josh Laughlin, head of the board.
Hi, everybody. Thank you all so much for being here. I had Hep as a history teacher, I think when I was a sophomore in 1980, that would have been. And she was a wonderful teacher for me. That was a time at Putney when some of the teaching staff or faculty was not quite as robust as some of the other, but Hep definitely stood out as one of those who was exceptional, and that certainly falls in my memory. I also, I've been on the select board in the town of Putney for a long time and had the pleasure of working with Hep for many years in her role as Justice of the Peace in town, and many other folks who worked with her, and she spread that Hepperness of herself amongst the town as well, and that was just a wonderful thing for all of us. So we miss her. My task is to tie a little bit of the conversations about Hepper into a little bit about what this dorm represents for Putney School. And I think that really what this is for us is a step along the way to a sustainable future that we need and want. And I think Hep would embrace that. I think that she embodies, certainly as we've heard, the support that students at Putney School and faculty at Putney School need in order to be the best they can be. And this dorm will help us do that. This and the other dorm will help us do that. They will be what's called net zero ready dorms. So they will be ready to be heated fully, or they will be heated fully by electricity, which can be supported fully by solar, most of which we have the infrastructure for, but we'll be adding to. We're using many sustainable products in the construction of them. We are designing to really be cutting edge in how we can make the dorms be ideal for what we need right now. Each of them will hold about we'll hold 22 students and have 2 faculty and or staff apartments in them, each of them 3-bedroom. And that is a huge part of what makes them so important for us, is having improved faculty and staff space. As was brought up, Hep, when she first got here, lived in a chicken coop, and we're trying not to carry on that aspect of Putney. Carmelita Hinton said about Old Boys in 1952 that it should be torn down because it had outlived its useful life. Well, there's still people living in Old Boys, as we all know. I lived there. Many of you, I'm sure, lived there. So we look forward to these being dorms that can really help us move forward in the methods of progressive education and lifestyle that we all wish for and want for Putney. And it also, it will allow us to take down Old Boys, which we don't think at this moment we are likely to replace with anything. We think it's a really beautiful section of campus that we haven't been able to recognize ever. And so once it's gone, we will be thoughtful about what we do with that space. But it will also allow us to turn old girls into academic space. So that will no longer be a living space, and it will allow us to design state-of-the-art classrooms that we need. We are cramped in our quarters as we are, certainly. So we look forward to that. So this is really an unlocking of so many important things for us in the future of Putney and its sustainability. Lots of details I could go into about the actual sustainability of the building. I want to recognize Randy Smith has just done amazing work to bring this building project to where it is. We started with architects who designed the field house for us, working with a net zero concept, did charrettes with kids. It's been a teaching experience, et cetera, et cetera. So there's been a lot of thought and process that have gone into these dorms and placement. And we're just really excited about what they can bring to us. But I want to just touch, Randy, thank you so much for all your work. And I also want to recognize that building 2 new dorms and the ability of that process to unlock a lot of positive things for Putney's future has been a real goal of Emily's really since she arrived on campus. And without her urging and continued acknowledgement of what it does for us, we probably wouldn't be sitting here today. Emily has been tenacious in saying, we need to do this because if we don't do it, we can't move forward with all sorts of things. So Emily, thank you so much for that. And I'm just grateful that Emily is here with us to be part of a groundbreaking for this, because for a long time it looked like maybe we wouldn't be able to get dorms going while Emily was still here. So we're thrilled that we can. Actual construction, as many of you probably know, we're still waiting on final permitting, but we hope to have the machines here breaking ground in August. And then it's about a 13-month build period for the 2 dorms. So we won't quite make the class of 20, well, I guess it would be the class of 27, but the incoming groups in 23 will be able to move into these dorms hopefully by Thanksgiving-ish. So that's exciting, not that far away. And I also want to just say thank you to so many of you for your efforts in helping us get to this point. That just the support and the goodwill and the knowledge that this is such an important part of what we need to do as an institution to really open chapters going forward. So thank you all, and thank you all for being here so much, and thank you, Johnny, for having kept Hep here, if that might be an appropriate way of stating it, and being, Hep and Johnny have been just a tremendous backbone for Putney for ever and ever. So thank you.
Thank you, Josh. So much effort has already gone in on this project, as you can tell. Planning, behind-the-scenes conversations, fueled by powerful commitment to Carmelita's principles, the incredible generosity of many of you, the hard work of many of you. But it is time for this to go from being a dream to becoming a reality. So please, I don't know if you'll be willing to do this, JC, but will you and Sver and Peter and Tim and maybe even Carter, your great-granddaughter, would you mind going over and standing next to a shovel? Please, for me. And those of you who have been so instrumental in making this possible, I hope that you also will get up and come around to stand by one of the shovels so you can help with this groundbreaking. I like to think of this less as a breaking of the ground, as a blessing of the ground. We are opening up this ground so that Hepper's legacy can live on for future generations of Putney students. So let's dig in. Thank you. And afterwards, you can all head back to campus. We'll have the shuttles running. Allison and Kalia, if you have any announcements, do you want me to say anything? You can do whatever. I'll let you use the mic. but we better tape it.
I do want to thank Maria from the bottom of my heart for being such an extraordinary angel and MC of this moment. And I want to make sure that you all know that our time together is not over until noon tomorrow. From 10 until noon, we need to be praying to the weather gods it doesn't rain on us. But we will be honoring Emily. We will be launching the campaign that's making a storm possible. And we will be ending our time together with Sing. And we know how important that is. Lucy Shelton will be leading it, and I do hope that you will stay until noon tomorrow so we can all be together, so we can sing it forward together. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, everyone.
Are you guys all ready? I'll go on my head. That's good. Okay. Going crazy. It's going to be done early.
Nobody leaves till the foundation's ready. Never dig a trench without planning something.
Wow.
Good. Thank you all so much.